Welcome the students of SC Civil for the subject Surveying, Unit 5, Construction Survey and Modern Techniques such as Space-Based Positioning Systems, SBPS. For this we will use the reference books Surveying and Leveling by Kanetkar Kulkarni, Surveying by Duggal, Higher Surveying by Punmiya, Surveying and Leveling by Subramanyam, Surveying and Leveling by Basak, Surveying by Das and Das. Now we will see the course outcome. On successful completion of this course, student will be able to define and explain basics of plane surveying and differentiate the instruments used for it. Second course outcome, express proficiency in handling surveying equipment and analyze the surveying data from these equipment. Third course outcome, describe different methods of surveying and find relative positions of points on the surface of the earth. Fourth course outcome, execute curve setting for civil engineering projects such as roads, railways, etc. Fifth course outcome, articulate advancements in surveying such as space-based positioning systems. Sixth course outcome, differentiate map and aerial photographs, also interpret aerial photographs. Now we will see the course objectives. With the successful completion of the course, the student should have the capability to describe the function of surveying in civil engineering construction. Second course objective, identify the sources of measurement errors and mistake, understand the difference between accuracy and precision as it relates to distance, differential leveling and angular measurements. Third course objective, identify and calculate the errors in measurement and to develop corrected values for differential level circuits, horizontal distances and angles for open or closed loop traverse. Fourth course objective is effectively communicate with team members during field activities, identify appropriate safety procedures for personal protection, properly handle and use measurement instruments. Fifth course objective, be able to identify hazardous environments and take measures to ensure one's personal and team safety. Sixth course objective, perform traverse calculation, determine latitude, departures and coordinates of control points and balancing the errors in a traverse. Use appropriate software for calculations and plotting. Seventh course objective is operate a total station to measure distance, angles and to calculate differences in elevation. Reduce data for application in the geographic information system. Eighth course objective is work as a team member on a surveying party to achieve a common goal of accurate and timely project completion. Ninth course objective is calculate, design and establish curves, understand, interpret and prepare plan, profile and cross-section drawings, work with cross-sections and topographic maps to calculate areas, volumes and earthwork quantities. Now we will see the syllabus of unit number 5. The title is Construction Survey and Modern Techniques such as Space-Based Positioning System SBPS, which includes Part A, Introduction to Construction Survey, Establishing of Horizontal and Vertical Controls, Setting out of buildings, Maintaining verticality of tall buildings, Survey for open traverse, roadway, railway, drainage lines, water lines, canals, setting out of a bridge, determination of the length of the central line and the location of piers, setting out of a tunnel, surface setting out and transferring the alignment underground. B part includes introduction to SBPS, SBPS systems, GPS, GLONASS, GLONASS, Galileo, Gagan, GAGAN, BEDU and their features, segments of SBPS, that is space, control and users, applications of SBPS in surveying. Now we will see the part A, Introduction to Construction Survey, Establishing of Horizontal and Vertical Controls, Setting out of Buildings, Maintaining Verticality of Tall Buildings, Survey for Open Traverse, Roadway, Railways, Drainage Line, Water Lines, Canals, Setting out of a Bridge, Determination of the length of the central line and the location of piers, Setting out of a tunnel, surface setting out and transferring the alignment underground. Now we will see the part A, Introduction to Construction Survey, establishing of horizontal and vertical controls, setting out of buildings and maintaining verticality of tall buildings. First we will see establishing of horizontal and vertical controls. The first step in a city survey is to establish control both horizontal and vertical. The primary horizontal control, that is primary control stations, is established by triangulation, precise traversing, or both. The secondary control, that is secondary control stations, is established by running transit and tape traverse or traverses of the desired precision connecting the triangulation stations. In small towns, there is only one horizontal control and it is established by precise traversing. Thus, the main skeleton consisting of a closed traverse or a series of closed traverses is established. Now we will see the establishing of horizontal controls. From the sides of these traverses, the details such as outlines of streets, gullies, buildings, etc. are located. In the triangulation for a city survey, the sides are necessarily shorter in length and objects such as church spires, flag poles, top of the hills, chimney, high buildings, water tank, etc. are generally used as triangulation stations in order to form well-shaped triangles and to avoid building high towers as far as possible to reduce the cost of the survey. Since the angles at such stations cannot be determined by direct measurement, they are obtained by reduction to center. The triangulation system consists of either quadrilaterals or polygons with a central station. The angles are measured with either a direction instrument or a repeating instrument reading to 10 seconds. Most usually they are measured by the method of repetition, 5 or 6 sets consisting of 6 repetitions with the telescope direct and equal number of repetitions with the telescope reverse being taken to ensure the required precision. Because of shorter lengths of the sides of triangles, the signal should be exactly centered over the station marks. Astronomical observations for azimuths should be made at 2 or more stations. In the survey of a city, it is customarily to refer all points to the plane coordinate system. Some triangulation stations within the area is chosen as the origin and the true meridian through this point, and the line at right angles to it are taken as the axis of coordinates. All reference points are plotted by means of plain rectangular coordinates with reference to these axes. The azimuths of the initial line and some intermediate lines should be determined by an astronomical observation. The advantage of the coordinate system is that in case a point of known coordinates is lost, it may be readily and precisely replaced by means of the coordinates of the other points. The entire triangulation system is adjusted by the method of least squares. The precision required in triangulation is that the average error of closure of a triangle should not exceed 1.5 seconds and the maximum one should not exceed 5 seconds. In a primary traverse, the average angular error of closure should not exceed 4 under root n seconds and the maximum error should not exceed 6 under root n seconds, where n is the number of sides of the traverse. In a secondary traverse, the corresponding figures are 10 under root n seconds and 15 under root n seconds. The maximum error of closure in a primary traverse should not exceed 1 in 20,000 large size city work. In a secondary traverse, it should not exceed 1 in 10,000 for medium size city work, while in tertiary traverse it should not exceed 1 in 5,000 for small town work. Now we will see the establishing of vertical controls. The next step is to establish vertical control. The purpose of vertical control is to establish benchmarks at convenient intervals all over the area. The first order benchmarks are established by precise leveling at about half a kilometer or so apart on permanent objects such as walls of buildings, abutments, piers, parapet walls of bridges, etc. By running levels in closed circuits, the permissible error of closure being 4 under root k millimeter, where k is the length of the closed circuit in kilometers. The entire level net consisting of several closed circuits is adjusted by the method of least square to determine the most probable values of the elevations of the benchmarks. Additional benchmarks are established at traverse station and also on permanent objects such as curb stones, gate pillars, fire hydrants, planes and walls of buildings, etc. By running a line of second order levels beginning from any first order benchmark and choosing on some other first order benchmark or beginning from and ending on such a benchmark, the maximum closing error being 8 under root k millimeter, where k is the length of the line in kilometers. So we have seen the establishing of horizontal and vertical controls. Now we will see the setting out of buildings. The object of setting out a building is to clearly define the outline of excavation on the ground for the guidance of the contractor. It would be of little use if stakes are set at the exact position of each of the corners of the building, since they would be dug out as the work of excavation, the foundation proceeds. The best method is therefore to select out a reference rectangle outside the limits of excavation, say about 5 meter from the building line as shown in the figure 1, so that the reference pegs capital A, capital B, capital C and capital D will not be disturbed during excavation, and then to locate each corner by means of coordinates with reference to the sides of this rectangle. The contractor is usually supplied with a blueprint of the plan of the foundations of the building, a plan giving the necessary dimensions for foundations. The coordinate of all the corners should be shown in a tabular form on this plan. So here we can see the figure 1 showing the building line. So this is the building line. The equipment required for the work consisting of, first is the 30 meter steel tape, two 15 meter metallic tapes, third the hammer, fourth is the plumb bob, fifth is the stakes, sixth is the iron and wire nails, and seventh is the cord. So we will see the procedure for setting out a building. Two stakes A and B are accurately driven at the required distance apart, say as 14.5 meter. A cord is then stretched, the ends being secured to the wire nails driven in the center of the stakes. At A is set out a line perpendicular to AB, the right angle being set out with the tape by the 3-4-5 method. On this line, a stake is driven at capital D at a distance equal to the length AD, say 7.6 meter, and the work checked by measuring the diagonal BD and comparing it with its calculated length. The error, if any, should be corrected. Similar procedure is followed at B to set the stake at C. As a check, the diagonal AC is measured. The distance CD should now be exactly equal to the distance AB. A cord is then passed round the periphery of the rectangle ABCD. Having set out the reference rectangle, each corner is fixed by measuring its coordinates from the sides of the reference rectangle. Example, corner 1 is fixed by measuring its coordinates x1 and y1 from AB and AD, and a stake is then driven in to mark its exact position. When all the corners have been staked, a cord should be passed around the periphery of the figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. and the outline of the foundations marked with lines spread along these lines outside the chord. Now we will see the alternate method for setting out of building. In this method, instead of circumscribing rectangle, the rectangle formed by the center lines of the outside walls of the building as shown in figure 2 is set out accurately with the tape as a reference rectangle and the corners located by measuring their coordinates with reference to the sides of this rectangle. Since the stakes put in at A, B, C and D will be lost as the excavation proceeds, reference stakes should be established on the prolongation of the sides of this rectangle well back from the work and in positions where they will remain undisturbed, say about 1.5 meter from the building line. They should be protected by standing a grain pipe over each of them. If the ground is uneven, the required points may be transferred to the ground by the use of a plumb bob. In the case of extensive or important buildings, a theodolite is invariably used in setting out right angles. So here we can see the figure 2 showing the building line. So this is the building line. Now we will see the another method, that is the batter board method for setting out of building. In English practice, the batter board method is used. Temporary stakes are accurately set at all corners of the building, the entire work being checked by measuring the diagonals. Batter boards are then set at each end of each outside building line about 1 meter outside the excavation as shows in figure 3. So here we can see figure 3, the battered board. The batter boards are 2.5 cm by 10 cm strip nailed to 5 cm by 10 cm post which are well driven into the ground. The top edges of all the batter boards are usually set at the same level. Sometimes, however, on account of the slope of the ground, it is convenient to set them at some whole number of meters above bottom of the excavation. Nails are driven in the top of these boards on the prolongation of the building lines which are given by the theodolite. The building lines are defined by stretching a cord wire between the nails in opposite batter boards. Reference stakes should be set on the main line of the building in position where they will not be disturbed as indicated, so that any batter board which may accidentally be disturbed may be easily replaced. Benchmarks should be established in convenient position around the site of the work. They should be well away from the site so that they may remain undisturbed until the work is completed. A stout stake with a round-headed nail driven into its top and embedded in the center of a 60 cm square block of concrete is a convenient form of the benchmark. The head of the nail defines the elevation. It should be protected by means of a piece of drain pipe embedded in the concrete. So we have seen the setting out of buildings. Now we will see the maintaining verticality of tall buildings. So maintaining verticality of the tall buildings. So I have referred the United States patent number 5841353. From that I have taken it. Very tall flexible structures are becoming common in a wide variety of modern architectural and engineering designs. Tower buildings, for example, are now found in many large cities and typically house one or more restaurants in their upper levels. Other tall structures include bridge towers, radio masts, and oil rig column, which are manufactured on land. Structures of this kind are usually designed to flex. Wind loading, for example, or thermal expansion of one side or another which is in sunlight can cause substantial but temporary departures of the structures from verticality. The top of the tower, 200 meter to 300 meter tall, may be displaced by 10 centimeter or more horizontally in any direction from its unflexed position directly over the base. It is often desirable to monitor these deviations and particularly during construction work. Tower buildings and similar structures are typically built in discrete vertical stages around 4 meters high. Successive stages are created in a jump form which is jacked upwards at intervals and adjusted in various ways to ensure proper alignment of each stage with the others as the structure grows. The jump form contains formwork or shuttering into which concrete is poured when a new stage is created and which must be set up in line with concrete already poured in the previous stage. The formwork must often be fixed in place at an appreciable angle from vertical depending on the current state of legs or tilt in the existing structure. Accurate ongoing determination of the varying deviations from verticality are important to avoid construction of a literally crooked tower. The proper functioning of some services to be installed within the tower walls and in some cases structural strength of the tower itself may otherwise be adversely affected. Horizontal displacement of even a few centimeters which are accidentally built into the path of a lift shaft, for example, may require an expensive correction before the building can become operational. The determinations must be made quickly and conveniently with minimal interruptions to the pace of modern construction techniques. Traditional methods of monitoring the verticality of building under construction involve use of a zenith optical plumette or an optical theodolite. Both of these devices require trained personnel to carry out measurements under appropriate conditions and have an accuracy which decreases with height of the building. At least one surveyor must visit the building site each time the structure of a new level is being laid out and the conditions may not be particularly suitable for a measurement at that time. These methods are therefore not regarded as being particularly convenient or accurate for use in the construction of tall towers. In the first method, the zenith optical plumette is located at ground level over a fixed mark and a laser beam is directed upward to a bull's eye at the new level. Locating the deviations of the beam on the bull's eye indicates whether the building is rising sufficiently close to vertical. The method requires two operators and because the beam diverges noticeably at heights greater than about 50 meters is of decreasing accuracy as the building rises. The beam is also subjected to thermal turbulence and measurements are normally best carried out in the still air of early morning. In the second traditional method, the theodolite is located some distance from the structure and a telescope sighting is made of the ground level mark and then the bull's eye. A minute adjustment of the telescope azimuth is normally required between these two measurements and indicates how far the structure has departed from vertical. This method also suffers from a decrease in accuracy with increasing height and is inconvenient in that direct lines of sight through the construction areas are required. The modern methods of surveying are able to make use of remote positioning system which may be satellite or land based. The satellite system most commonly used today is the Global Positioning System GPS, although others such as Global Orbiting Navigation Systems GLONASS are also in use or under development. Some land-based systems which effectively stimulate the satellite-based systems for a small area are also under development. Engineering and survey methods which use these systems can be markedly more efficient and accurate than traditional methods such as those described above. Use of GPS in surveying typically involves a single operator who sets up a base antenna or receiver over the control point having a known position and moves about with the mobile antenna or receiver, sometimes called a GPS total station. The operator places the antenna over unknown survey points in the field to record their positions using signals transmitted by a minimum number of satellites which are above the horizon. A vector or baseline is determined from the base site to the mobile unit. Survey points whose positions are measured in this fashion may in turn become control points from which measurements of other unknown points may be taken. The use of GPS during a survey procedure may be combined with other techniques such as distance and angle measurements taken with a convenient total station which may be placed at one of the control points. Each GPS satellite transmits two coded L-band carrier signals which enable some compensation for propagation delays through the ionosphere. Each receiver contains an anomaly of data on the satellite orbits and uses ephemeris corrections transmitted by the satellite themselves. Satellite to antenna distances are deduced from time code or carrier phase difference determined by comparing the received signals with receiver generated signals and are then used to determine the antenna position by trilateration. Only those satellites which are sufficiently above the horizon can contribute to a position measurement, the accuracy of which depends on various factors including their geometrical arrangement at the time when the distances are determined. Distances measured from an antenna to four or more satellites enable the antenna position to be calculated with reference to the global Epaulet WGS84. Local northing, easting, and elevation coordinates can then be determined by applying an appropriate datum transformation and map projection. By using carrier phase differences in any one of several known base mobile receiver techniques, the mobile antenna coordinate can be determined to an accuracy in the order of 1 centimeter. Using real-time kinematic RTK techniques, an operator can obtain position measurements within seconds of placing the antenna on an unknown point. In RTK, that is real-time kinematic, satellite correction data is transmitted by radio between the base and the mobile receivers during a survey procedure, whether or not there is a line of sight, to ensure in real time that accuracy in the mobile position measurements is maintained and the survey information is correct. Determination of verticality of various structures such as high-rise building and towers is enabled through various methods involving use of series of tilt-meter device, a remote positioning system, or a combination of both. These methods are particularly useful in monitoring deviations from vertical during construction work and adjusting a jump form. The tilt meters are typically arranged in a line on a structure and pole to characterize varying tilt states in which displacement of each device increases with height up the structure. The remote positioning measurements are typically made in real time using a satellite-based system such as GPS, the Global Positioning System. Departures of a survey point on the jump form from a vertical target line may be used to monitor verticality during the construction process. These methods may be combined with tilt-meter measurements being used to monitor growth of a tower structure and calculate an expected position of the jump form at any stage of construction, and GPS measurements being used to monitor the actual position. Now we will see the US patent 5841353. So this is the United States patent 5841353. Date of the patent is 24 November 1998. This is the patented by Gary Sedum, Chesmon and Jackson, Scott, Dadley, Michael Annetti, and Bessie, all are from Christchurch, New Zealand. So we have seen the maintaining verticality of tall buildings. So we have seen the part A, introduction to construction survey. establishing of horizontal and vertical controls, setting out of buildings, maintaining verticality of tall buildings. So part A, Introduction to Construction Survey, establishing of horizontal and vertical controls, setting out of buildings, maintaining verticality of tall buildings, survey for open traverse, roadway, railway, drainage line, water lines, canals, setting out of a bridge, determination of the length of the central line and the location of piers, setting out of tunnel, surface setting out and transferring the alignment underground. So these are the YouTube links available on YouTube. Establishment of control point, control surveying, meeting positional accuracy standard, setting out one, using the 3-4-5 rule and better board for pole building layout. Next YouTube link, how to build the setup a concrete foundation for garages, house, room additions, etc. Part 1. Major webinar, advanced surveying for vertical construction. Next YouTube link, tallest building and construction in the world, Masters of Engineering free documentary. World tallest tower, Burj Khalifa, Dubai's vertical city, free documentary. So we have seen the part A, Introduction to Construction Survey, establishing of horizontal and vertical controls, setting out of buildings, maintaining verticality of tall buildings, survey for open traverse, road, railways, drainage line, water lines, canals, setting out of a bridge, determination of the length of the central line and the location of piers, setting out of tunnel, surface setting out and transferring the alignment underground. So this is the syllabus for unit number 5. The title is Construction Survey and Modern Techniques such as Space-Based Positioning System (SBPS), which includes part A, Introduction to Construction Survey, establishing of horizontal and vertical controls, setting out of buildings, maintaining verticality of tall buildings, survey for open traverse, roadway, railway, drainage lines, water line, canals, setting out of a bridge, determination of the length of central line and the location of piers, setting out of a tunnel, surface setting out and transferring the alignment underground. It also includes part B, which includes introduction to SBPS, SBPS system, GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, Gagan, Beidou and their features, segments of SBPS, space, control and user, application of SBPS in surveying. Thank you all students.